Welcome to Don't Be Caged by Your Age, Lori Kirstein. I'm so happy you're here to share your insights and wisdom to help folks thrive after 65. How you doing?
I'm amazing. I'm truly amazing. Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me. This is
Uh,
great.
I'm so delighted that you're here. Listener, Lori is the powerhouse behind the Goodbye Good Girl Project, where she helps women ditch the shoulds into the should pile, find their voice, and show up unapologetically in life and business. She's walked that path herself, trading exhaustion and invisibility for authenticity and joy, and now she's helping other women do the same. How wonderful is that? So, Lori, we age out loud and proud here on the podcast. Please let folks know your age and where you live.
I am 67 fabulous years old, and I live in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, I tell you,
Yeah.
Midwesterners seriously are my favorite. Of course,
We
I
we
live in,
really are the heart of the country. I'm sorry, but that's my
it's
completely
true.
biased opinion.
It's absolutely true. I live in Boston where we're kind, but we're not nice. So, we'll help you if you tripped on the sidewalk. We'll help you move and everything, but we're rough around the edges, especially when we get behind the wheel. But Lori, I'm so excited to share your journey with listeners here because you've had a fascinating, multifaceted life. And tell us about some of the pivotal moments that shaped your journey and led you to where you are now.
What a beautiful question, Andy. I love that. Okay, so the very first thing that really threw me off my game was that my mother became sick when I was 11 with cancer and died when I was 21. So that put me into a whole place that I don't think I was expecting. And I knew very well how to follow rules. So I did all the things you're supposed to do, right? I went to school and I fulfilled her dream of my getting a degree, and then I went to graduate school, and then I went and started working as a secretary, and I didn't know what I was doing. There was no me there,
Right. And
right?
how often did women get an undergrad degree and a grad degree, and then we became a secretary?
Really? Is that like, so I'm not alone in this? That's good
Oh,
to know.
no. I went to Catherine Gibbs. So that was the premier secretarial school. And then after working several years outside the door of some incredible CEOs and founders, I went to work for a placement service that helped temporary services for
Yeah.
secretaries. I could not get over how many highly degreed young women were getting placed into these secretarial jobs. And I said, I am sure there are no men having to go through this after they got their degree. And listener, I know that's a little sidebar, but we're of a certain age here, right? So we can talk about how hard it was back in the day and the bias.
Honey, it's still there.
Yeah, it really
There
is.
there are there are no male administrative assistants. They don't exist.
On TV, they exist.
Yeah, well, that's a lie. Let's be honest, it's just a big lie. And,
Wow. That's
yeah,
fascinating. So you got these degrees, you became a secretary, and
yeah.
life started to flow without you going, here's where I want to go, or here's what I'd like to uncover and discover about myself. You were just in sort of a hamster wheel of getting up, going to work, coming home.
Yep. And then I did discover what I wanted, but it was because I had another bump in the road, which was my father getting multiple strokes, and I had to come home to Ohio from where I was living in Boston, in the Boston area. Yay, I loved it there. And take care of him. And I tripped over my childhood love, which is acting, because acting is not pretending to feel something. It is feeling something honest out loud.
Right.
And I'm all about being as authentic as I possibly can be and be all of who I am in this life. And I went, oh my God, that's what I want to do. And so I went to school for a year. I left the school. I tried to make it as an actor. I went out to California. It didn't work out. And I ended up in a really crappy place. I ended up broke,
Mm-hmm.
homeless, and crippled. I had a bone on bone hip. And out in California, 55 or so was too young to get a hip replacement.
Oh my
So I came
gosh.
home to Ohio. I went to see a doctor. The doctor went, "You need a hip replacement." I went, "Let's
Thank
go." So life started to get better about then. But I
oh
still had a
my
long way to go to find
oh
me.
my gosh. Homeless
Yeah.
though, Lori. Were you homeless for a while?
3 years.
No. How did
3 years.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
I know. I was in such shame and such fear, and I really it now that I'm this far away from it, which is only, I mean, that happened 11 years ago,
Right.
right? Um, so, but it taught me so much. And when I say that, I want to say that better. I chose to learn from it. I never ever want to have any experience in my life that I don't make something out of.
Exactly. It's the life happens for you, not to you framework. And, you lived so many women's biggest fear, right? How many women do you know who are aging, who their biggest fear is becoming the bag lady on the corner?
I didn't know if I was going to come out of it. I thought the
Ah,
possibility was there that I could just not fulfill any of the promise of who I am or the promise that my parents expected or hoped for me. And, and I had to lean hard into the vibrational, into the
right.
spiritual. And that's exactly what I did, and the
So
emotional.
there must have been that aha moment, that pivotal moment, and it could have been a series of events where you finally said, okay, I need to take this step forward in this direction. And something shifted in your head because for you to get out of something that is filled with so much shame, our society does not make it easy to live. Okay. There's so many things like even having a checking account, right? And needing an address and doing all the things and not having that. What helped you get out of that?
Well, first, I want to say that there wasn't an aha moment. It was a trajectory. And looking back, I can tell you that one of the things I did that was very powerful was really looking for where beauty still existed. So I would get on the bus to go to work because I had to take anything. And I ended up being a salesperson, an outbound salesperson for a local theater, professional theater. "Hi, this is Lori. I'm calling from, would you like to renew your subscription?" And
Okay.
it turned out that I'm very good at that because I can read people just from their energy, even over the phone. So I was very good at that. But it didn't exactly pay $1 million, so I
Right.
had to sort of start ramping up from there. I ended up working on a phone bank for Macy's for inbound calls. "Hi, I want to order a dress for my daughter's prom." "Okay, would you
Right.
also like some earrings with that?" That kind of thing. And I just inched forward. And what this taught me, and it's not like when you learn these things, I know you know this, Andy, that when you learn something, it's not like, "Oh, good, it's done." Then you have to deepen the knowing throughout the rest of your life. You don't get to just rest on your laurels. So, but I did learn that if I just took a step forward in and was marginally okay with not knowing, something would show up.
Right.
I would take that next step. It's not what I love, but as long as I'm making money, and so I found an apartment through somebody at that first telemarketing job.
There we go. And I bring this up. And listener, take this in as well that so many times in life, what we feel is almost a victim situation is really preparing us for our greatest work. And I think where society does us all a disservice is that it says that we have to be successful during these decades, 30s, 40s, maybe 50s, but definitely, you got to have your act together by the time you're 30, then you've got to really do it in those next 20 years or you're a loser, all those things. And instead of saying, I'm here, I have the privilege of aging, I have the privilege of getting up every day and seeing how I can be, and this is the key words, fully expressed, because that's where you're tapping into your passion and your purpose and bringing your full light to the world. That can happen anytime, any day. And for some of us, and for many of us, we're also trying to not just do our human journey, but we're also on a soul journey that's preparing us in other ways for different work. And And I know from my own experience, Lori, as a startup founder, 4 different businesses, didn't have the sexy exit that you all hear about with startups and other businesses. But I learned a lot from the experience, but I kept thinking I was just such a loser because I didn't have, quote, this indoctrinated belief successful outcome. And that I honestly thought, hey, in my 60s, it's all over. Too late, too bad, too sad. And here you were finding your way back into living conditions, taking the jobs, finding where am I going to brush my teeth, take my shower, do all of those things. You got back on your feet. And I just think it's just so powerful for where you are today, because when you look at a woman, and we'll talk next, listener, about what Lori's up to, you come from true authenticity of having walked the walk of how do I get back on my feet? So nobody's story is going to come to you and go, I can't do this. You had to struggle through it all. So let's talk a little bit about, sort of wrap up this pivotal moment. You got back to Ohio, you got your hip replaced, and then life started getting a little smoother for you.
It did. It started to get smoother, and then it got rough again. I had a I had a nervous breakdown, and
Oh,
this is about 3 years ago,
uh-huh.
and I really didn't know. I had 40, almost 40 years of clinical depression as a part
Yeah.
of this whole journey.
Yeah.
We women are so strong. It's
Oh,
just insane how strong we are. And,
and we're good at masking. Here you are,
oh my
clinical
well, we're good
depression,
at
and still showing up
persevering.
and
Yeah,
persevering. And that's not always good either, though, unless we're, I know, that's a whole nother story.
that's
But, but so, and Lori, what happens when one has a nervous breakdown?
that's a gorgeous question. A nervous breakdown, just generally speaking, and I am certainly not a therapist, so your viewers might wanna look it up. But for me, and I've had 3 in my life, and I'm not gonna have another one. Not because I'm not gonna have an but I'm gonna tell you, I healed myself of the clinical part of
Right,
depression, so I know I'm not going to. But what it's like you have an inner terrorist, and you have this voice, and I don't mean hearing voices, but you have all of those things that you are used to saying to yourself that are not kind.
right,
I'm gonna die. I'm never gonna get out of this. I don't have what it takes. The victim thing. I don't know what to do. I'll never know what to do. Somebody has to save me. There is nobody to save me. And the thing is that those thoughts are connected to really strong emotions. All thoughts are connected to emotion. What happens with thoughts like that is that the energy feeds on itself and just grows. And so it's like you have this inner terrorist pulling you down into defeat.
yeah,
And eventually, you run out of resilience. You go, "Oh my god, I've got nothing I can try. I've already been to the ER. I've already adjusted the medications I've been on for decades. I already did all the stuff. And now I'm falling and then I've got nothing."
right.
Yeah, so that's what a
Well, thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
And because sometimes I'm curious, and so I'm sure other listeners are curious as well as to the whole process, because that's a really deep, dark place to have to come back from. And so
Yes, it is.
you figured it out. You had a catalyst moment. Something
I did.
happened so that you could now look out at the world and go, okay, this is why I'm here, and this is what I'm going to do. Talk a little bit about that.
Uh, I did find that the combination of focus, like the focus on self in terms of what do you feel? What do you sense? If you live there, then you become the sounding board for what's coming into you. So if somebody is saying something that ordinarily your head would go, "I don't know if I should let that person in or not let them in," this knows. Like
Right,
your emotional body knows. It goes, I don't know. You don't have to know, you have to feel.
right,
Right? So I realized that it was the combination of that shifting by 1%, not trying to go, "Oh, I'm living under a bridge." I never lived under a bridge. I'm living under a bridge, and then saying the affirmation, like I have $1 million. That's way too big a jump.
Right.
But if I go as I did from I am really afraid I'm not going to make it through the night to and I think I'm a real badass because I have managed to get through 2 of these before, and I keep trying, and I'm not taking the easy way out. And that little bit of light, 10,000 times stronger than all of that darkness. And within 10 minutes, I had shifted it. So, and within 5 days, I had cured the clinical part. That black cloud that I'd been with for 40 years was gone. It was gone. And so I started using that in my regular emotional hitches, and I still do, as I go through them every day. And the epiphany, if you will, was not, again, I do get epiphanies, but they're not that wonderful sort of Hallmark movie kind of thing that we all want, which is like, here's the perfect business and here's the, it just doesn't happen that way for me at all. But lately I've come to this understanding that I'm teaching people how to see the world correct. I'm teaching women how to see the world correctly. And we all are afraid of being broke. I've been working on my own business for like 20 years and I kept failing. And I know so many other women who just kept failing. And it's like, what is happening? I'm freaking smart. I'm freaking creative. I'm freaking persevering. What is going on here? And I finally realized when I got pissed off one day and I said, all these male gurus out there, these little 25, 28, 32-year-olds going, I've made $1 million. Why can't you? Are giving us the masculine only platform, like do these 16 steps or whatever it is, right? Do these steps. They never, never, never acknowledge the wife, the administrative assistant, the feminine aspects of the care and feeding of clients, the networking, the sales. There's so much feminine that underlies any successful business. Successful business does not rest on physical effort. It rests on the emotional. It rests on the feminine. And I went, oh my God, that's what I have to teach. So I created the Womanpreneur Success Codes because of enough already.
I love that. And I also love that you worked with, and listener, you can see it as divine source, God, goddess, or just the incredible neuroplasticity of our brains that we can wire out our trauma and wire in our more healthier, stable minds that help us navigate life in a more optimistic way. However you want to do it or look at it or view it, whatever lens you want to see it through, it can happen. And Lori, I love that it happened for you. And sure,
You.
Would you have loved to have had it happen 40 years ago, 30, any time ago? Absolutely. But it happened now. And what a gift. And you have decades ahead of you, for all you know.
I'm planning on it. Yes.
Being able to do this incredible work. So let's talk about the aspects of your current work that's truly lighting you up today and why it feels so vital to you. And along with that, please share the Goodbye Good Girl Project and all the services you provide.
Oh my goodness. It really is exciting. And here's something I just learned about business. And Ande, maybe you're way ahead of me on this one, but I've had this idea, and I think we're taught this. You have to have this idea, and then you go make it happen. But if you bring in the feminine, it's more like, I have this great idea. Now I have to nurture the growing up of my business, and it's going to show me as much as I'm going to bring to it. Is that true? I mean, do you find that too?
Oh, 110%. What happens for many business owners, they get so caught up in the tactics that they forget to step back and listen. And especially if you're doing this, as you call it, the feminine way, which is, what do I need to do next? Prompt me. And I live in the prompts and have forever. Everything I'm doing today is because I was prompted to do it. And then you take your smarty pants experience and execute and implement. of course, but you let the business unfold as long as you know that you are solving a problem for a segment of the population that A, wants it solved, and B, is willing to pay for it. Those are just really the three ingredients that you have to have. But let everything else just sort of, who is that client? Who is that customer?
Right.
Stay curious. It's that whole headspace and mindset of being curious with your business. Because a lot of times, what we might have been focused on for a period of time, all of a sudden you feel it fading away and you feel something hitting you on the left side going, wait, I got something's coming in. Wait, no, I'm over here doing this now. What do you mean? And that's part of your own evolution, that now you're being called to work on this. And I'm just going to say, that's right, Emily Aborn, I'm talking about you. I see it many times with especially folks who are bringing extraordinary services, to other folks in the world.
Right.
Sometimes it's had its soul journey, its chapter, so to speak, and then you get called to do something else. So, but please continue. And listener, please visit goodbyegoodgirl.com. And remember, that's goodbyegoodgirl.com to learn more about how Lori is helping women walk in joy and authenticity. Hop onto TikTok, catch all her reels. Oh my God, you're going to love it. She does live tarot readings, all the good things. And you can tune into her podcast on YouTube. Just search for Goodbye Girl
Nope.
Project.
Goodbye, good girl.
That's what I meant to say. Goodbye, good girl. I left it out on that one. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just search for Goodbye, Good Girl Project. And that's a good thing to remember. Put those shoulds in the should pile. So, Lori, talk about the services that you're providing and how this is helping women with what they're doing.
Well, I just started something that was one of those, it hit me out of the blue. And I went, oh my God. And the very first meeting was so profound that it was exciting. Like my hair was standing on end. I had 4 women. What it is a weekly meeting, free, Thursdays, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And womenpreneurs, only womenpreneurs come in, and we come in with our business questions, and it can be tiny. How do I even begin with Canva? Or how do I make a Canva color change? Or I'm trying to figure out whether to relaunch my business. What are the criteria I should use to decide yes or no? How do I set up a LinkedIn event? I mean, the questions are endless, right? Because as solopreneurs, we're too damn solo.
Right.
And so enough of that. Women come together. This is like a digital quilting bee for women in business.
A digital
It's a
quilting bee.
digital
Gosh,
quilting
I
bee
love
for
that.
women in business.
Right.
And it is free. It is 45 minutes long. And it is phenomenal. One woman was in there wanting to know, how do I find a job? Because she's been looking and looking and looking. She's from Canada and she's phenomenal. She had her own business and she couldn't sustain it because she was
Yeah.
having the same troubles we all have with this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And she's like, should I restart it? And I also need work. One of the other women said, hey, why don't you go onto TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is that floats your boat, and do little 5-minute pieces of informational stuff about all of the executive assistant stuff you want to do that you know so well. And my head exploded. I went, oh my God, it's brilliant. She's like, yeah, people will want to hire you either for your business, which will then start it for you, or they'll want to hire you for work at a company. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't get
See?
that sitting alone in your room.
No,
I'm
you
sorry.
cannot. You have to
Mm-mm.
build in public. You cannot build in isolation. It's too hard. Oh my gosh.
Isn't
What
that
a,
awesome? I'm
that
like
is,
so excited about this.
and seriously, an online quilting bee group, there's nothing better than that. And if you never quilted before, listener, it was the gathering of women talking about life and whether it was raising the kids, managing the farm, you know,
Yep.
doing all the things. They shared all their resources, but more importantly, you have the answer inside of you. But a lot of times, talking it out loud helps you see the answer, and having the questions and the conversation with others. Right, Lori? That's where it really can happen.
Yeah. Everybody in that room, including me, got answers to, like, I found out, okay, I had been putting LinkedIn events on for a long time, But I was like, I'm not getting anybody's emails from these free things. And somebody said, but you can if you just do X, Y, Z. I went, really? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, holy cow, this is like amazing. And so it's just like, it's little things like that that move you forward, that make you feel what you need to feel to stay on a path that feels right to you, because it can get discouraging quickly, right?
Very discouraging. And again, doing it alone, you can look around your home and a lot of people are watching you like a train wreck because they don't understand entrepreneurship, or why would you ever want to do that? Or they
Right.
just don't like that you're off the wheel of the everyday that they're all used to, and you're doing something very risky. And that's not good. You got to
Right.
be with people who are going to encourage you and support you and wildly clap for you. And so, what are some of the other services that you provide with Goodbye Good Girl?
Thank you. You're not alone in that. A lot of
I,
people go, so it's Goodbye Girl. I'm like, yeah, that's a movie with Richard Dreyfuss
I
from
know
like the
that's what
80s that
happened.
I loved.
I know. And
I
Marsha
love it.
Mason.
Yes, I loved that film so much. Um, so one of the things I do is coaching. So if you are somebody who needs to have a real sense of security within yourself because you go out there and you do public speaking of some kind,
Hmm.
and you have doubts about, is this really, am I doing this in a way that's really engaging? What should I be looking at? I have a whole professional background in acting. So my way of doing things is to get women on their feet. And first we write something, and we write it from their life. So you don't have to memorize stuff. That's a waste of time. You just want an outline that you understand. And
That's
that's a
right.
journey. And we get them on their feet once they have that, and then they can just talk the story. We
Right.
identify the places where I can feel that they go, or they go, and I say, is that what you're feeling? I confirm. Are you feeling something right now? Yeah. Is it feeling a little awkward? Yeah. Okay. So if you were just talking to me as your friend, how would you express that? And 9 times out of 10, what they say that they would say is what they end up saying. Because
Oh,
it's comfort. It's about being you. When you are your authentic self, confidence comes with the package,
right. Right.
right?
And if you stop worrying about editing what you're saying, and of course, I'm speaking from personal experience here. If you stop worrying about editing what you're saying, how you look, if you're getting your point across in a succinct, efficient way, these are all the thoughts that go in my head. When I even tried to do a solo episode, Lori, it's like, oh my gosh, I have so much I want to get across, but I don't know how. I can't speak extemporaneously, all of those things. You're absolutely right. You help them create the story arc,
Yep.
and then they can naturally deliver it. And it's not like a TED Talk where the clock is ticking and you
Mm-mm.
think you have to be Elizabeth Gilbert and delivering the pristine 10-minute soliloquy. No,
Right,
you got
right.
to do it your way, because you're doing it for your people in that way. That's a wonderful service because you're just providing everything over there. Now you're thriving after 65, of course, but you as a founder, as someone who is helping other women business owners or those who are just looking to find ways and pathways to feeling more fully expressed, you had to dissolve, I imagine, some ageist beliefs that might have been lingering consciously or unconsciously inside you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
God, I love that. Actually, being homeless dissolved all of that,
Tell.
because it did. Because who's got room for worrying about that when I want to see if I can get out of the house of this person who was kind enough to let me stay in their bedroom, but now the friendship is dying because
Right.
it's hard to live with people that you're not in love with. It's hard to live with people you are in love with. And no matter how hard I tried, it was challenging. My focus was, I don't have time for non-essentials. And the other thing that moved forward for me was a kind of thing that I define as confidence, which is knowing that you know what you know. I started know, I'm like, I am so way ahead of people who are 40 years younger than me. in terms of what I know about software, building websites and copywriting and graphic design and communication. And I'm like, I'm a freaking miracle of nature. And I'll be damned if I'm going to sit here and put myself down and worry about what somebody else is going to think of me. If that's what they think, then see you later. I'll go somewhere where somebody has more sense. And as a result, I ended up in a library that had started this program for job seekers. And it's such a powerful program that libraries around the country are trying to imitate it. And I learned that people in their 60s and 70s were getting hired for full-time jobs.
Get out. We need
For
more
real.
information on that, Lori, because there are a lot of people who are struggling out there. And sometimes
Yep.
I do believe, though, that I mean, yes, I'm not pretending there's a huge bias in corporate America. Absolutely. But as more people show up and unafraid of being the oldest person in the room, we shift everybody's mindset about having older adults because they've got their unconscious bias or conscious bias against elders. But also we have our own. And even if we think that we've evolved and we're fully owning like who we are and who we be, we can still put up a block, an energy block. What do you think about that and getting hired?
I think you're 150% correct. I was actually going to say something about really the focus for me about who I am, and it's because of the acting I started over 38 years ago, is the energy I put out is warm, it's welcoming, it's enthusiastic, and it's based in just knowing that I know what I know. I'm not saying I am the best on earth. All I'm saying is I know that I know what I know, and then standing in that and going, if you're smart enough to see what a gift I can be to you, good on you. But I'm not going to base my self-worth.
No.
And so the energy of that really does inform your confidence and what comes across. But if you are sitting there in your fear of they're going to think I'm too old, those fears will show energetically,
Yeah.
whether the other person's aware of them in that way or not. They will start to resonate with that. So the real job for anything that we do, or anything that we're approaching, is shifting that energy by 1%, which is something I wanted to mention to you too, because I do have a little free course called Do the Impossible: From Emotional Chains to Empowered Change. And it's about using the system that I use to get out of my depression and called the 1% solution.
I love that. And that's how
Yeah.
real change happens, right, Lori? It's that taking that one tiny bit of action and then it just compounds as you take another
Yes.
1%, right?
Oh my God. And that is so scary. We've just been so socialized to think I have to make like this big
Oh,
epic movement,
leap.
otherwise I'm lost. Yeah.
No, no, no. It's lily pad to lily pad to get
Oh,
across
that's
the pond.
beautiful. Oh, I love that so much. Yes.
Oh, listener, are you enjoying this conversation as much as I am? If yes, please join the movement to end ageism and celebrate pro-aging. For just $5, you can sponsor the podcast and help amplify inspiring voices like Lori here, break age-related stereotypes, reach more listeners worldwide. Visit buymeacoffee.com/Ande Lyons, ANDELYONS, to make your $5 contribution, and let's make aging a journey of joy and possibility together. And I thank you so much for your sponsorship. It means the world to me.
Mm,
Lori, what advice? Because you've been gathering so much great information from your own
yeah.
journey, and now you're working with clients and really with the 1%, with your digital, online quilting bee, all of these important
Hmm.
ways that women need to have feminine leadership. What
Yes.
advice would you give to other women stepping into courageous, authentic, feminine leadership? I emphasize the feminine, listener, because, I'm so done with the patriarchy, which is that's not male bashing. That's a system that does not work for women. So anyway, little sidebar there. Go
Amen.
ahead, Lori.
Amen. Preach. Preach, sister.
But
I s-
to bring the question back again, what advice can you impart to women so that they can really step into their feminine leadership in life?
I don't know exactly how to convey this with as much specificity as I would like, but here's the real deal. We've learned to we've imbibed all of the masculine rules, and they're not the divine masculine rules, they're the toxic masculine rules. So there are things like you have to be this young, this white, this thin, this whatever, right? This able-bodied, like all these rules. And they're all based on the toxic masculine idea of you have to be likable, you have to be not too much, you have to be desirable.
As a woman, now
Think
we're talking about because they don't have those
as
rules for
women.
themselves. They're
Oh
out there
God, no.
hunting. Yeah, they can do
Oh
it
no.
all.
No, I could
This is
go
for
into a
women.
rant so easily at this moment, but I will refrain. I'll just do that on TikTok. So, but yeah, no, they don't hold themselves to the standard that the ad agencies and all of this hold us to simply by showing what is supposed to be the norm. It's not. It's not the norm. Not only is it not the norm, but those images that we see of these like young, gorgeous, or even these older, gorgeous women, they are generally, there's nobody that exists like that. And I mean, literally, they take the eyes from one person, the mouth from another person, the nose from another person, the body from another person, the face from these people that we're measuring ourselves against don't exist.
They don't.
And there's a movie that all of you should watch, which is called Killing Us Softly 4. It's going to shift you, I swear. It's only 45 minutes long. It is phenomenal. So go find it on YouTube or Vimeo.
I'll have the link in the show notes, folks. Just tap on it.
It's amazing. And it's not a downer, but it is an eye-opener.
What we need to do is to toss out the toxic masculine leadership rules that we have been watching since we were born and say, how can I lead in a way that nurtures the feminine side and leads with the feminine side and doesn't come with all these rules and conditions that puts me into a slot and keeps me in quiet and invisible and unassuming and following the masculine direction.
Well put. With one adjustment that I want to make from my perspective, we can't really push out the rules. They are very, very ingrained. And here's the thing, and this is energetically true of anything. We can't push out the dark. We can't, because we're like, I feel this, or I think this. How can I just stop? It's like, don't think of a pink elephant, right? It's that whole thing. But if you bring in a little bit of light, meaning a little bit of something that is different from that feels a little bit better, it does the work for you. It does the work for you. It brings you the experience of something different. And then you go, oh my God, you mean reality isn't just in concrete? I can actually change me and I can change my situation. Oh my God. So to be specific, one of the things that you can do that is unimaginably powerful is kindness. Now that sounds like, yeah, right. Okay, fine. But if you think about how much time we spend disliking ourselves and negatively judging ourselves, if you can find even one thing to say, like I did when I was depressed, like it wasn't like, I'm so fabulous. It was, no, I think I'm a badass because I'm still persevering. That was a kind moment. You know, if you judge it just by the words, you may be like, well, that doesn't seem very warm and fuzzy. It's all about what you feel. And if you can be kind, I once was kind to myself. Once I got back from California, I won't go into the story in case we're running out of time, but it's a phenomenal thing. It put me into 3 days of bliss just by being kind to myself.
That's a beautiful thing to leave us with, using the kindness. Oh my gosh, Lori, it's just so wonderful to have this conversation with you. Just because the clock strikes midnight on a milestone year does not mean that we're done with you, and that you're done. I'm always saying pastures are for horses, not humans. until you take your last breath, you're here for a reason. And there's no reason why you can't tap into your purpose, your passion, and fuel those so that you can then fuel your pocketbook. You can keep earning well past the age of 65. Just hop on over to episode 70 with Deborah Morrison, who helps women thrive with their money after 65. And you can see that what Lori is working on, which is taking those tiny steps that will help you get to just another little plateau, and another and another, and those compounded over a period of time, especially with the kindness paradigm, is wonderful. Any last thoughts for our listener, Lori, before we wrap up?
Thank you for asking, because yes, it came to me as you were speaking. You are uniquely positioned as an older woman. You are uniquely positioned to be impactful because you have no more F's to give. You have no more to give. You know what happens then? You are completely in alignment, your thoughts with your emotional set point, and you have an impact you couldn't have as a younger woman. So use it. Use your power for good, baby.
I love it. The only thing you lose, is you age or your F's to give, and your tolerance for all of that.
It's true. It's so true.
It's so true. Oh, this has been a wonderful conversation. I just love meeting you and sharing your voice with the Don't Be Caged by Your Age. Listeners, let folks know how they can find you, follow you, work with you, all the good things.
Yes, if you would like to email me, if you have any questions at all, you can write to me at support@goodbyegoodgirl.com. Don't forget the good, because we're saying goodbye to the rules, the ones that keep us silent. Support@goodbyegoodgirl.com. And you can go to my website, goodbyegoodgirl.com, and you can find me on TikTok numerous times a week. And that is the @Goodbye Good Girl Project. There are tons of other ways, and I'm going to give a lot of them to Ande so she can share them with you.
Absolutely. All the links will be in the show notes. Lori, thank you for sharing your wisdom and your delicious energy with us today. It's been such a powerful conversation. And to you, dear listener, what did you think of this convo? I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts on the Don't Be Caged by Your Age LinkedIn and Instagram feeds, or hop on over to the website and leave a comment or even a voice message by just tapping that mic icon. How cool is that? And until next time, stay curious, stay courageous, and of course, stay Andelicious. Waving from Boston. See you soon. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you so much, Ande.
Listeners, I'm so grateful you carved out time to tune in and grab the gems from this delicious conversation. Be sure to hop on over to Don't Be Caged by Your Age on LinkedIn or Instagram to share your thoughts about ageism and unretirement. Because in this space, your age doesn't define you, it refines you. If you are inspired by a story you hear, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, share, rate, and review the podcast. To receive an alert whenever a new show is posted, please join the Don't Be Caged by Your Age newsletter. Every month, you'll receive links to the podcast and helpful resources for creating possibilities for your unretirement days. Thank you for tuning in. I am so excited to hear how you found ways to thrive after 65. Waving from Boston, cheers.